fate really smiled on West Point the day that this man to my right stepped on to be our athletic director. And now he's fully on board, his family's living here, and I'll tell you what, we have no better citizen to head up our athletic department than Boo Corrigan. A new battle buddy, he is all about doing things the right way for the cadets, for winning the right way, and he has already brought an energy and just a passion to this position that has rarely been seen. My good friend, Mr. Boo Corrigan. Sir.
I'm trying to figure out who he was talking about during that. But, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Thank you very much for the pleasure and the honor of being the Director of Athletics here. It really means a great deal to me. It means a great deal to my family. Real quickly on me, my real name is Eugene Francis Corrigan, Jr. I'm the youngest of 7 children of Gene and Lena Corrigan, originally from Baltimore. They now live in Charlottesville, Virginia. Dad is 83, Mom is 81. Those of you who don't know, my father had an unbelievable career in college athletics. He's a recovering lacrosse coach from his previous life. He then became the Director of Athletics of Virginia. He was the Director of Athletics at Notre Dame. He was a Commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference. And then he ended his career as both the Commissioner of the ACC and the President of the NCAA. So, one, I'm not even trying to follow that. So that's way too much for me. But two, something really interesting, and we'll talk more about this in the presentation. I'll try not to bore you, death by PowerPoint. But he was here. He's now been here on 3 different visits in the 4 months I've been here. He is absolutely in love with what West Point is. He's absolutely in love with what West Point represents. We had a chance to go out to Buckner to visit as they were training out at Buckner, and they were clearing a room, a term I'm not very familiar with, but clearly everyone here is. And Dad's up on a ladder looking over into it, and we're riding back to the house after that, and he looks at me and he goes, "No one else in Division I athletics is doing this first." I said, that's a very astute comment. I appreciate that. Exactly. The other thing he said is, "I don't think anyone else in Division I could hack this," which is interesting as well. But it speaks to the value of who we are and what we are and what we represent. I'm married to Kristen Cito Corrigan. We have 3 children. Finley's 10. Trey, Eugene Francis Corrigan III, is 8, and Brian is 7. Prior to coming here, I worked at Annapolis, and then I had a chance to work at Notre Dame, my alma mater, and then most recently I worked at Duke, all 3 of which are ranked below West Point in the Forbes, which is kind of interesting. And I'll be sure to send out an email or 2 about that in the next couple of days as well. I did have a chance last night, clearly Coach K being at Duke, and we had a number of wonderful conversations when the job was open, and then when I got the job, and have had a couple since. I sent him a nice text message on our day, and he wrote back, "Fond memories." But he's Coach K, you can't call him out, And last night, someone was talking, walked by and said, "You were at Duke?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How's Mikey?" And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell's Mikey? I don't know. I know who Coach K is. But again, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. Thank you very much for the pleasure of being the Director of Athletics. Next slide. I was thinking a lot about this, and this is who we are. Every day, what we think about, what we wake up thinking about, and what we want to do are the cadet athletes. What are we doing to maximize the opportunity? What are we doing to maximize their experience? All of our focus, day in, day out, is on the cadet athletes. This year, I believe there's 1,024, I think is the number that you're going to see later on that we have here at West Point. Leadership laboratory, competition at the highest level, applied ethics under fire, speaks to our coaches, speaks to what we do, speaks to the leadership model, speaks to the excellence that West Point is about. We're not about going out there and trying. I was talking to a buddy of mine at the Naval Academy, Matt Munley, who's a ticket guy, the other day, and he's, how's football going? I feel good about it. I feel excited about everything that's happening here. He goes, "You know what the worst thing is?" I said, "Is it the worst thing when they pat you on the shoulder and say, 'Boy, you guys play hard'?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's exactly what it is." We're not about playing hard. We want to compete at the highest level. We want to win. We want to win championships. We want to have a great experience. I think that maximizes the experience of our athletes if they are in a position to win, if they do have all the resources, if they do have everything that they need. Again, the great quote by General MacArthur, something that we talk about with our athletes, something that we talk about with our coaches. The experience of my father coming here. And this is a guy who's been everywhere, done everything, and has seen it. And what he saw out of Buckner is what this place represents and what makes us special and what makes us unique. Next slide. Regarding diversity, the 36% of our coaches are minorities and women. I think we are doing our part at West Point. Our head coaches, within our sports, representing African Americans, Hispanics, women. I think what we are is a window onto America. And it's an opportunity to show what the Army is, what we are, what we represent, the best and the brightest. It's amazing how many notes I get from people that run into our teams at a restaurant, at a hotel, see them in an airport. And it's always, what a pleasure it was. The days of the earbuds and people looking down and people on their phones, that's not who we are, that's not what we represent when we're out on the road. We're representing the top of the top when we're out there. And I think it's important that y'all know when we are out there what we what we are, what we look like, how we represent, and how we speak about the place. Next. Again, back to this, window through which the world views us. The phrase that I've really attached myself to is in talking with Coach Ellerson. One, who's a great football coach. Two, who's an unbelievable fit. And I think a lot of college athletics, there's a lot of good jobs, there's a lot of okay jobs, but at the end of the day, what you have to have is you have to have the right fit. And I think we've got the right fit in a lot of our sports right now. All of our sports right now. I'll be that bold as to say that. All right? I'll be that bold as to say in all of our sports we got the right fit. But in talking with Coach Ellerson, the one thing he talks about is recruiting to the destination. Recruiting to the destination. So he'll have the recruits here. Actually, let me rephrase that. He'll talk to some recruits. And he'll talk about 47 months. He'll talk about the next 5 years. He'll talk about the trials and tribulations that you have to go through. If they want to keep talking after that, then we go after them full bore. If they can't understand, grasp, and embrace what that is, then it doesn't make sense to bring them here. We're 209 years old. We're not going to change. You know, nor should we. Nor should we at this point. So within the bigger picture, if you want to keep talking, let's keep talking. You know? So again, fit is what matters. Fit's what matters with us, bringing the kids here. If we can get the right kids here and they understand what it is, it's going to be a whole lot easier to win. It's going to be a whole lot easier to retain them, which I think is a really important part. How many people here are aware of the admissions board, the executive committee of the admissions board, and the academic board? Yeah. That's what you need to go through to get into West Point. Right? Those are the different committees that a lot of our athletes have to face before they get in here. What we talk about is making sure that the ones that go through that are the right ones that go through that, are the right ones that understand what they're getting into, what it's going to be, how they're going to have to go through each and every step of that. We got to make sure we fight for the right kids. Right? We need to make sure that the ones that we take there, the ones that were me, pounding my fist on the table saying, this kid can make it. This young man, this young woman can make a difference. There's so many stories here about the SEER, a low SEER, a high SEER. It's a number that's been created here that has GPA and test scores and class rank and it's kind of all shrunk down into a single number. So this number kind of fluctuates a little bit, and that's kind of, well, he's got a high C or he's got a low C. So those of you that are not fully aware of the academic board, it's the 13 department heads, it's the COM, it's Deb McDonald, it's the soup, it's the dean, it's myself. So it's a room in Taylor Hall. And those of you who have heard this before, I apologize, but it's the one thing to me that truly makes this place unique, because there's no other AD in the country that gets to do this. It's a room in Taylor Hall that probably hasn't changed in the last 100 years. The air conditioning is a fan about this big, all right? And you walk in, and I'm not a PhD, and I don't know that I'm proud or not proud, but I'm not a PhD at this point. But I walk into the room, and everyone else in the room is a PhD. I finally refer to myself as a redneck from Virginia. So I'm sitting in there, and the chairs are huge, and they weigh 50 to 75 pounds, so you're pulling it out, and you're sitting down, and there's marble, and the soup walks in, and everyone's standing up, and I'm looking around, you know, when do I stand, when do I sit, what do I do? And the soup sits down directly across from me, and I look up, and there's Caesar looking at me above me. I'm like, holy crap, what's going on here? You know? So within the context of all of this, we are making a difference in the academic. We're bringing in the right kids. We're bringing in kids that know what they're getting into. Are we going to be perfect? No, we're not. No, we're not. Are we going to recruit every kid that y'all want us to recruit? Probably not. You know, but are we going to do everything we can to make sure that we represent the best players, the players that fit, the players that are bringing diversity to the class? Yes, we are. Lastly, the leaders of character for the Army and the nation. If we're about the cadet athletes, and that's what our time is spent on and focused on, we're in line with the SOUP. We're in line with the academy. We know what we're doing, why we're here. It's about, in Coach Ellerson's term, building calluses is what it is. It makes you tougher at the time of competition, at the time of when everything is on the line. Are you representing yourself? Are you representing the Corps? Are you in the moment? And have you done everything that you can do? I really think that's where we are right now. I think that's what we're doing right now as a department. Next, please. At this point, what I'd like to do is introduce the Military Deputy Director of Athletics, Sam Johnson, who's going to take y'all through, as a graduate, a typical day and then a typical schedule of one of our athletes. Sam.
Thank you. I've been fortunate enough to be in the athletic department for 4 years, came here out of the brigade command, and I'm even more fortunate to be working for Boo now. He is absolutely the perfect person to be running our department. He gets West Point and he gets what we're trying to do. And what I want to do first is just explain to you the cadet daily schedule. If you look up there, you see our athletes have a brief window, 3:30 in the afternoon to 6:30 in the evening to practice. Now, that's unlike any other Division I sports team in the nation. What does that mean? The dean owns every one of our athletes until 3:30 in the afternoon. At 3:30, we get them. If you've seen our new weight room, relatively new weight room up in the Kimsey Center, it's 24,000 feet square. Why does it have to be that big? Because at times we have to have 8 to 10 teams in there practicing at once. And our coaches run practices efficiently and quickly. They have to, because they've got such a small window to get these kids prepared for the next game. The beauty is, cadets get it. They're there, they perform hard, they work hard, and they're out at 6:30, quarter till 7, so they can get back for their study barracks and then bedtime. Next slide, please. More importantly, it's important that everyone understands that the cadets, who are athletes here, have the same exact academic requirements that every other kid that comes through this school has. We don't cut any corners. We want our cadet athletes to experience the same level of academic acumen and discipline that's required of every cadet at West Point. They have the same number of credit hours when they graduate as everybody else that does. The beauty is, you got a kid that's got 20 credit hours, carrying 20 credit hours a semester, able to pull down a 3.137 QPA while she's performing as a team captain on a team at a Division I level institution. That's pretty amazing. And that's not uncommon across all of our athletes. And you know what? She doesn't complain. She's proud to be a team captain. She's proud to work hard in the classroom, and you can see the results. We're very proud to have a ton of kids that can do the same exact thing.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. Next slide, please. Coaches, the fit that I was talking about earlier. What makes us different? Coaches that understand who we are, what we are. I do want to give credit to Rick Greenspan and Kevin Anderson before me, who did an unbelievable job hiring great coaches. They truly did. If you look up here, there's 6 coaches represented. Sam and I actually went back and forth a little bit on the bottom right as to whether or not to put Paul Peck up there, because he didn't win the Coach of the Year this year in the Patriot League, but he's won it 10 times. So I'm like, I got a little 80 discretion on this one. We're going to stick him in there. So, again, we're really proud of our coaches and how they do it. I think it also, candidly, in the political world of college athletics, I think it speaks to the fact that they're respected by their counterparts at other schools. I really do. I think that's important. But if you do look up in the top right-hand corner, it's actually 45.5% of the athletes were on the Dean's List. Yeah. A couple football players behind me talking about how they were always on the Dean's List while they were there. 5 academic All-Americans may not sound like an enormous number, but for us it really is proportionally for what we are. So again, I think we've got a lot of the right coaches, or all the right coaches in place. We just need to make sure that we're providing them the resources of what they need and how they need to go about it. Next slide. Facilities. I do want to point out one thing. When the soup was talking about us being ranked 3rd, it includes all facilities. So Arvin Gym was in there and everything for all the cadets, because we've got unbelievable facilities here. We truly do. But it is constant upkeep on what we're doing. There is a need to make sure that what we're doing is providing the best that we can for the cadet athletes we have. But again, Foley Athletic Center, you look at that, and those of you, have a lot of y'all been in there before? If you haven't, let us know. Come by the athletic department. We can give you a tour and take you through clearly any and all of these facilities that we have. But facilities do make a difference. It's an educated consumer. Right, so we go through and we're recruiting to the destination, and they want to keep talking. They're probably going to talk to the other service academies as well. You know, it does make a difference to the 17-year-old. It's not the end-all, be-all. Now, if you're Ohio State, Florida State, they're in a different world than what we're living in. And you know what? That's fine. That's absolutely fine. They're in a different world than we are, and we're good with that, and we know who we are and what we are. Our goal is to concentrate on being the best West Point that we can be. All right. I was talking with someone last night, and what makes us unique. And I think what makes college athletics unique is that it's about the name on the front, not the name on the back. There's a guy named Dave Gavitt who created the Big East 30 years ago, and he got asked that question, what's the difference between college and pro? In pro, it's about the name on the back. In college, it's about the name on the front. And I started thinking about that. And then I thought about our football uniforms. And you know what makes us unique? We got the name on the front and the back. Oh, that was pretty cool. You know, but again, that speaks to who we are and what makes us unique. But again, I think the facilities are really, really important to what we're doing. We got a couple things in the campaign with lacrosse and a number of facility upgrades that we're looking at that are really important to our kids, to us, to the visibility, to the window on the academy, et cetera. Next slide, please. Budget standpoint, I think this is something, and again, I don't know what everyone here knows or doesn't know. Clearly, listening to the superintendent, our leader, it is a unique time. It's a unique time here. Fortunately or unfortunately, I went through this same thing 2 years ago at Duke, where we had to find $1.5 million during the course of an academic year. Their budget's $60 million, but it's still, you got to find $1.5 million in the course of a year. I do think we have the ability here to increase some revenues, which is a good thing for us, because I do think the 38% is going to go down. So we got to find a way to close that gap. I mean, be it A fund, be it some of the contracts that we have, be it Army-Navy game. One of the things that is a challenge here, not a problem, a challenge here, is that our TV contract has 8 more years on it. Army Navy is out 7 years. There's some of our major contracts. The football scheduling is out. Give or take a game or two. We're out till 2019 with our football schedule. There's only so many ways that we can grow it, but between ACUB and sponsorship and some other contracts that we have, i.e. like a Nike, et cetera, there's some opportunities for us to increase the 62 to 64 to 65 as the 38 shrinks. I'm not in favor of the 38 shrinking, but if it's going to happen, we need to make sure that we're there to adjust to it, and I think we're up to the challenge. All right, next slide, please. Kind of speaking to where I just was, DOD is going to decrease. We know that. What it is, when it is, we're not sure of. We've taken some personnel cuts. We've not filled some jobs in the last 6 months. One of the unique things that did have happen is I was at a Patriot League meeting and I got an email that our budget had been cut $300,000. Okay, what do you do? There was no warning. It's a unique environment that we're going through right now. So it's constantly changing, constantly evolving in what we're doing. Again, I feel comfortable that we have the people in place to increase some revenues, to do some things, but it does take a lot of work. Private funding clearly is a margin. I spoke about the coaches, the athletes, the facilities, and we need to fund to make it happen. I do want to thank y'all here today for what you do, for spreading the gospel. Another challenge that I've encountered since I've been here. We're in a town of 3,400 people. Within 60 miles of us, 15 million people live. My personal opinion, and purely anecdotal, I think 95% of them think we're a suburb of Albany. I don't think they realize how close we are. And I think that's a challenge of ours. Because there's one thing that's for sure, I've not had any person here that's come to visit, be it friends, colleagues, new donors, sponsors who have come here and not walked away with a sense of awe of what it is. Our job, and in listening to the soup earlier, our job is to get as many people here as we can, to spread the gospel, as my Catholic upbringing would say, to spread the gospel of what West Point is. Because when they come here, they may not come to every football game, but I think if they come to one, maybe they'll come to something else. Maybe they'll come here for a concert. Maybe they'll come for a parade. Maybe they'll come for the 4th of July. All of it's good for us. The more people we can get here, the more people that see what we are and who we are and what we're all about, I think the better off we are. And that's what our job is. Be it through our current contests that we have, looking at things differently. Do we try to host a hockey game, an NHL hockey game at Mikey Stadium? I don't know. Nothing's off the board right now, as far as I'm concerned. I think our job is to think different. I'm a recovering sales guy, so I'm going to go after as many things as I possibly can, and then be told not to do it. So again, I think that's what our job is, what our challenge is. Next slide, please. Honestly, I think this speaks for itself. I really do. I think in the context of who we are and what we are, you can try to simulate things. Our kids, our athletes are living it every day. Because there is a clock. It is in the paper the next day. People know what it is. People know how to be led. People are stepping up to the leadership positions. Sam, you may have to correct me on this, but I believe football has the number 2 guy in the Corps this year, as well as the Sergeant Major. So 2 of the top 7. I'm still waiting to see if any of our other athletes are in the top 7. So 2 of the top 7 are football players. To digress, he's the right fit. Speaks to being the right fit. Next slide. This is something that we've done some research since we've been here. 40% of the Army's generals who are graduates of here We're Division I athletes while they're here. We represent about 20 to 21% of the Corps. This is a great story for us. This is an unbelievably great story for us.